So welcome everybody. My name is Brad Gall, and today we're going to be talking about using BI techniques for database statistics. So that's kind of a general topic, but hopefully it'll make sense as we start digging in. Let me get my slide here. So first, just a little bit about me. I'm a BI consultant with Pragmatic. I'm the big guy there on the right, not the little one. Before consulting, I did work for corporate IT for many years. I wore a few different hats. Systems engineer, where I built some SharePoint farms, DBA, and then built a data warehouse, did some business intelligence. So wearing those hats kind of is a little bit of the inspiration for this topic. I've been working with SQL Server and SharePoint for over 10 years, and then you can see my contact info there at the bottom. Blog is just starting, bradgallsql.com, and then I'm starting to tweet a little bit. I'm a little late to the game on Twitter, but starting to get in there. So what are we talking about today? We're going to take a look at some real-world examples of using business intelligence to report on some SQL DBA data. So when I mean SQL DBA data, some of the things will be our index growth, how much our stored procedures are executing, how many logical reads and physical reads those stored procedures are doing. So this is something I did when I was working as a DBA, and I had two goals when I was doing it. One was I really just needed some reports on my databases. So my manager needed at the end of the year to know, hey, how much have we grown? How big of a SAN am I going to need to buy, things like that. And my developers, I wanted to help them out by showing them, hey, these are your big stored procedures that they're running quite often. They're using a lot of IOPS. Maybe we should go look at tuning these. And along at the same time, I knew we had some Microsoft tools out in the marketplace for business intelligence. I hadn't learned it yet, and I really wanted to get in there, so I took this as an opportunity to learn the Microsoft tools and get the reports I needed at the same time. So I think it works well for a webinar because hopefully it's data that's familiar to a lot of us, and also it will provide the other thing I'm hoping it does is provide a good end-to-end example of self-service BI. So we only have an hour and a very broad scope of information. What I'm hoping to gain from this is an end-to-end solution, taking our source data, our DMVs, and putting them all the way into a pivot table within Excel after having used PowerPivot. So we're going to go through stuff pretty quickly, but I think it's helpful. When I've talked to and worked with some clients, we've gotten to the end of a training engagement. A lot of times they'll say, oh man, now I see where we're going with this. I kind of wish I knew where we were headed when we started down this path, so I could have conceptualized things a little bit better along the way. So I think that is kind of my goal with this, is to not dig real deep into one particular topic, but kind of rifle through things quickly, get to the end. So then as you start studying things more in depth, maybe you have a better understanding of the goals that we're heading to with business intelligence and data warehousing as a whole. So kind of a loose agenda, kind of broken into three parts somewhat. The first part's going to be slides. I'll do some dimensional modeling 101 just to get us all onto the same base. Along the way, I'll talk about how those modeling techniques are going to apply to our DBA data. And then the rest will be demos. I'll demo some DBA statistics queries that we're going to use to load a dimensional data model. And I have a database that I'm kind of calling our DBA data mart that will hold these stored procedures in tables in the end. I'll post the scripts for those on my blog after the webinar, so everybody can go download these and play with them afterwards as well. And then finally, we're going to load the data into PowerPivot, which is why I asked that poll question, so we can see why we're modeling these things the way we are, and then create some reports using some pivot tables. So dimensional modeling 101. When I started learning dimensional modeling, I luckily came across the Kimball group and the Kimball books. So their methodologies and their terminologies is what I go with whenever I talk about dimensional modeling and data warehousing. And what they say is at the highest, most basic level, there's two types of tables within a data warehouse or a data mart. There's dimensions, which hold our attributes, and these are what do we want to slice by. These are the things that we want to divide our numbers up across. So those are dimension tables, and we have fact tables. The fact tables are our metrics, and these are what do we want to measure. So in our instance, it's going to be the growth of our indexes or the growth of our tables. That's what we want to measure, and then we want to slice it by our table names. So those will be our dimension attributes table name. So a little bit more on the dimensions. Like I just said, the dimension tables contain the attributes that your users will want to slice and analyze our metrics with. So in a star schema, if you've heard of that, the dimension tables are flattened or denormalized from our source systems. So again, from our data, we're going to be looking at data that's coming out of our sys tables and our sys indexes and our sys schema tables from our source. We're going to flatten that into one indexes table and roll those all together. We generally group related attributes into tables, and this is where a little bit of art and a little bit of science goes into how we design these models. So one of the questions you have when you start off is, do I have a dim index table and then a dim table and then a dim database table, or do I roll all those together? And really one of the decision makers for that is the last point there. We want to keep our attributes together in a table if you want to put them into a hierarchy together. So if the attributes relate enough to each other that we want to put them into a hierarchy together, and a hierarchy would be a way we can roll up our data. So within a database we have tables, and within tables we have indexes. And generally you're probably going to try and put those together into one table. Now our facts are the tables that contain our numbers. So these are the rows that we're going to aggregate. These again will be our index growth or maybe our execution counts for our stored procedures. Now within Kimball's methodologies, there's actually a few different types of fact tables. One thing to note for today, we're going to be looking at transactional fact tables. Those are the most basic, the ones you really start with and the ones you use the most. And some key things to keep in mind with transaction fact tables